We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they can send us to the morgue. We are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck. No. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. Let me shoot you. He can't fucking breathe. So let me shoot you. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck. No. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned.
If it's Thursday, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a glorious panel here with me to break down all the shit talking and shenanigans, the fight announcements and fuckery that has all trickled out the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. Before we get into all that fun and fuckery, though, first and foremost, gentlemen, how you doing over there?
We're here and alive, so we've got that going for us.
That's a plus.
Made it through Thursday. Looking forward to Friday.
Damn right. Damn right. All right. Well, with all the formalities out of the way, let's jump right into it here. We will kick things off the way we like to around here with a little bit of news and recent events, fight confirmations, fight cancellations, official rumor confirmations or denials, things that are relevant in the fight world since we spoke to you wonderful folks last. Unfortunately, this week we do have to start by tying into last week. But it's kind of news that won't really be all that surprising to those who've been following along. 319 lost a fight before it even got to the cage last weekend, and it lost it on the scales. Brian Battle was officially moving up from welterweight to middleweight, and for the third time out of 5 of his last fights, he missed weight again. And he didn't just miss weight, he missed by 6 fucking pounds. He went up an entire 15-pound weight class and still missed by 6 fucking pounds. So unfortunately, there was a fight that was scrapped from 319 before we ever even got to the fight cage itself. And the UFC has followed up this afternoon by confirming officially that Bryan Battle has been released from his UFC contract. He won the Ultimate Fighter at 170 pounds and then couldn't make 170 pounds anymore, moved up to 185 and then missed 185 by 6 fucking pounds. I'm not surprised and I'm not sad about that. Bryan Battle has been one of the least professional fighters we have seen in the UFC in a long time, for quite a while now, and it's about time he fucked around and found out. So enjoy PFL, Bryan Battle. That being said, we do have some very interesting fight announcements that came out this week. We talked about it a little bit on last week's show. Aaron Pico was kind of the last torchbearer for some of the bigger name guys that have been coming into the UFC from other organizations. And I'm almost more afraid now than I was then, because unfortunately, the thing that we feared the most came true, and Aaron Pico got knocked out by a crazy spinning elbow in the first round. And this week we started getting the fight announcements that we were waiting on. The first one we got here was officially confirmed. Patricio Pitbull is going to be fighting a gentleman by the name of Lucien Kita, I believe. The Octagon MMA 2-division champion is making his debut in the UFC. But again, Pitbull's now fighting a dude making his debut in the UFC. So we'll see how that plays out, because they're going to do it in Paris in September 6th. Not a lot of time to turn around here, so hopefully Pitbull has been in the gym working on all the shit that didn't work the last couple times out there. The following week after that, September 12th, will be LFA 147, and it's got I'll call it a controversial matchup being added to it here. None other than Gable Stevenson himself is officially making his MMA debut against Braden Peterson on the LFA 147 card. He flunked out of the NFL. He flunked out of the WWE. At this point, he's basically falling back to MMA, assuming that he'll be good because he was a good wrestler. And if you've watched any of Gable's videos, any of his social media stuff, I'm not convinced. Braden Peterson is far from a world breaker. They're not necessarily giving him a fucking, champion to make his debut against. Braden Peterson is pretty far down on the list of journeymen in terms of LFA guys go. So they're not going to really give him much of a challenge. They're going to try and get him to look good his first couple fights out, but we've seen this playbook run several times before with big name athletes from other sports, thinking that, because you were great over here, you're just automatically going to be able to come to MMA and dominate. And that's not how it fucking works. Someone has to explain to these folks that MMA math is a little different from traditional math. And just because A plus B equals C in the real world don't mean a fucking thing here in combat sports. But I have a feeling Gable Stevenson will find that out sooner rather than later, but he is officially making his pro MMA debut in just a couple of weeks. So there are a lot of folks who are very, very much anticipating that one, to see how quickly he can make his way up to the top, if he can. We kind of knew it was coming. It just wasn't ever officially announced until this week. But yes, all you fucking Chewie fans can shut up. Raul Rosas Jr. is officially going to be back on UFC Noche once again, this time taking on the shell of what used to be Rob Font. I'm still waiting for the UFC to actually put this kid against any fucking talent, or admit that they're giving him fucking layups so that they can try and build him into something. They have not done either, but prime Rob Font would use Raul Rosas for a condom and fuck his old lady with him, but the shell of what we've got now of Rob Font, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it, but it is officially a thing. Speaking of things I don't fucking like, couple weeks after that, October 4th, BKFC will be making its official debut in the state of New Jersey. And to headline that card, they have got Mike Perry versus Jeremy Stevens. And the co-main event, coming out of retirement, is Frankie Edgar taking on Jimmy Rivera. I don't like any fucking part of this, and I've not been quiet about it. I'm kind of surprised that BKFC hasn't banned me from most of their social media at this point, because the more they post about it, the more that I talk about how fucking not okay this is. Frankie Edgar retired from MMA because he was getting knocked out too often by dudes with skill who had respect for him and were at least treating him like the legend that he was. BKFC quite obviously is cashing in on his fucking name to try and make some fucking money off of him in New Jersey, and it's a little fucking sickening. It's one thing when a guy like Mike Perry, who's in the middle of his career and just wasn't ever going to make it to the top in the UFC, decides that he wants to go and become the face of bare knuckle boxing. Good for Mike Perry. That's a great career route for him. That's probably the highest he's going to achieve in his career, because he surely wasn't going to do it in the UFC. Frankie Edgar's not that fucking guy, and he shouldn't be treated like he's that fucking guy. And it really fucking bothers me that Feldman and these fucking cash grabbing coke whores over at BKFC are treating him like another fucking Uber driver that they're going to bring in, wring some fucking money out of, and then kick back to the fucking curb. I have a very strong feeling we're only going to see Frankie fight one fucking time. He's going to get knocked out by Jimmy Rivera, and then he's going to quote unquote retire again. And fuck Feldman for being responsible for any fucking part of that. Luckily, there was a little more sanity back in the UFC side of the house going forward after that. The following week, the UFC goes down to Rio de Janeiro for the first time in way too fucking long. October 11th, Figgy Smalls makes his way back to the cage in Rio, this time taking on Montel Jackson for basically a trying to keep in the rankings fight. This is not a match they ever would have even considered for Prime Davison Figueiredo, but as is the case with several other people we have mentioned this afternoon, we are not looking at Prime Davison Figueiredo anymore, unfortunately. So this is very much, in my opinion, a test to see just exactly what Figgy Smalls has left in the tank before the UFC decides whether they want to bring him along into this new Paramount Plus era or not. The following week after that, the UFC will be in Vancouver, October 18th. We got a pair of very interesting fight announcements for that card this week. The first one, making his 5th appearance in 2025, will officially be one big mouth Kevin Holland taking on the Canadian hero Mike Malott. I am all in for that fucking fight. I think that is a great fucking matchup. And then we got the official main event for Vancouver. Rainier de Ritter versus Fluffy Hernandez. Basically a number one contender fight at 185 pounds. Equally as important as the Paris card that is coming up between Imavov and Kyle Baralho. Middleweight genuinely is probably the most exciting and the most active division in the UFC right now. And that just makes it that much more frustrating that Brian Battle was too fucking stupid to get himself put in to this crazy fucking round of fights where there are numerous fucking names at 185 pounds you could have easily put Brian Battle against had he just showed up, done his fucking job last weekend like he was supposed to. But you know, he didn't want to do that anymore, so he's no longer with the UFC and he doesn't get to play in their new playground. Sorry, fuck around, find out. Get on down the road, bitch. That being said, unfortunately, there are a couple of fucking not so fun ones to round out the news this week, but they are relevant here. The first one I want to talk about for just a second here should definitely be nominated for a fucking Darwin Award. PFL fighter by the name of Carl Moore has officially been handed a 1-year suspension by USADA, not necessarily just for his positive testing, but before, and I quote, his reckless and dangerous behavior in testing positive. Because not only did this genius test positive for EPO, when they talked to him about it, he admitted that he tested positive for EPO because one day when he was in the locker room, one of his fellow athletes, who he refused to name, left a fucking syringe and a bottle of chemicals sitting on a fucking bench. So this brain surgeon looked around, didn't see anybody, grabbed the unknown syringe, stuck it in the unknown container, filled that bitch to the fucking brim, stuck it in his ass meat, and put it plunger fucking down. How you get to this level of professional fighting competition and are that fucking stupid boggles my mind. He's lucky that he's only getting a 1-year suspension because the PFL, as of now, has not said any intention to get rid of him. They're going to let him serve his fucking 1 year and throw him right back to the fucking meat grinder. Now, just when you think that's the dumbest one we've got, no, we go one better, because then we come back to the UFC side of the house here and we talk about a gentleman by the name of Alvin Hines. Oh, this fucking rocket scientist. This gentleman tested positive for the steroid drostanolone, one that is very well known and very well tested for, but he didn't just test once for it. Nah, that'd be no fun. He didn't test twice for it. Why would we talk about a guy testing twice? This fucking moron tested 3 times in a row. Out of competition, then in competition, then the following out of competition sample. All 3 fucking samples in a row, all 3 tested positive, all 3 B samples tested fucking positive. This dude had been doing steroids since before he got in the UFC, thought he could keep fucking doing them while he had a fight in the UFC, and then didn't even cycle off after the fucking fight that he got his ass beat in. This gentleman got 1 year because he did cooperate and admit to his fucking wrongdoings, but much like the moron before him, as of now, there has been no announcement of any intention to let him go. Obviously, UFC heavyweight division is thinner than, lingerie panties, but the UFC still apparently is going to cling onto him like a diaper. We'll see how that works out in the long run based on how that fight on steroids worked out. Last one I have this week, though. We've been talking about it, and it is now official. It has been handed down. The Nevada State Athletic Commission has officially given Sean Strickland a 6-month suspension for his, and I quote, inappropriate behavior at the Tough Enough event where he entered the cage, not as a quarterman, but as a combatant against a gentleman who'd just beaten one of his teammates in a match. I get that the guy that he stormed the cage and punched has said that he didn't want Strickland to face any repercussions because, he's a fucking simp and an idiot as well. But in the real world, had anyone else in the fucking UFC pulled this shit, they would have been gone. This is beyond McGregor level bullshit. McGregor never actually touched anyone. Yeah, broken glass with the dolly, I get it. But McGregor never actually touched anyone in his coked out heyday fucking bullshit. Sean Strickland went to an event where he was a cornerman. His fighter lost. He stormed the cage and punched the guy who beat his teammate. In the real world, Sean Strickland should have A, went to fucking jail, B, been released from the fucking UFC. As of right now, 0 charges, 0 jail time, 6 months suspension. Sean's injured and he can't technically fight right now anyway. So, a literal slap on the fucking wrist for charging the cage at another promotions event and striking one of their fighters. I wish I could say I was surprised, but we are talking about the UFC, and we all know how Dana feels about real world punishments for real world action. So, UFC, once again, is going to UFC. And we'll probably see Sean, once he's eligible again, on the December card this year. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. There's lots of fun fights he can get into now. But that being said, that is what I have got for news this week, gentlemen. Do either one of you gentlemen have anything I might have missed this week?
Nope, I've been off social media all fucking week, so I have no earthly idea.
That's probably been a good idea.
Not that I can think of.
Alrighty. Well, in that case, normally this would be the point where we bring in the young kid to talk about the names that are going to be names before their names and shit, but life happens and the young kid ain't here, so we ain't going to do that this evening. So instead, what we are going to do, because we have another gentleman here, we're going to have ourselves a nice fine casual corner. We do have a couple of very interesting matchups topping this card here. So we're going to take our turn and get our favorite casuals take on this particular card before we go into talking shit about the rest of it. So, are you ready, sir?
Yeah.
All right. So, in our co-main event this weekend in Shanghai, we have got a 5-round co-main event between one Aljamain Sterling and one Brian T. City Ortega at 145 pounds, a weight class that Ortega said he was done with. Here we are, though. So, in this weird other side of the world, middle of the night fight, who do you think takes our co-main event, Sterling or Ortega?
I want to say Sterling, but something's telling me Ortega. I think Ortega takes it.
Definitely understandable. Definitely understandable for sure. So that brings us to our main event. The bigger boys, not quite the biggest, but the bigger boys. Light heavyweights. Johnny Walker trying to regain some steam against a fucking powerhouse who's just cleaning clocks left and right in Ming Yang Zhang. Who do you think takes that one?
Well, Johnny Walker can keep walking his ass down the road because Ming Yang Zhang's about to put a whooping on his ass.
I can definitely agree with that as well. I think you were definitely right on the money there for sure.
That man goes ape shit in the cage. And no, there's
Yes. Yes, he does. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated with that. So, since the kid is not here, in honor of the kid normally trying to bring that fucking happy, sparkly bullshit fucking positivity that fucking youth brings you, TJ, I think this would be the point where you and I should just talk about the fights that we are excited about, because there are a couple of very interesting fights on this card. There's not a lot, but there are some very interesting fights on this one.
There's a few of them. Let me just start here, and I'm going to say, as a whole, the vast majority of the prelims are fucking just contractual obligations.
Yes.
New guys getting their foot in the door, nothing exciting, nothing to look at.
Correct.
However, there's a few things that I do kind of have a little bit of interest in. One of them being the Charles Johnson, Leonard Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Kavanaugh coming in, fucking sitting 9-0 currently as a pro. He's
Looking
got
good.
2 good solid wins so far. Granted, he seems to be a decision machine, but Charles Jordan on the other side, or Johnson, excuse me. Why the fuck did I say Jordan? I don't know. But he's been kind of the spoiler for a lot of guys who are starting to make their way up, which is really odd because he can't get a fucking normal haircut. The guy with the fucking weird ass haircut always throws me off. But I am I will say in the kid's honor of not being here, Kavanaugh has some potential. He's very young in the infancy of the UFC, but he does have some potential to look at there. And the other one that I'll say I'm more interested in just because of I want a specific outcome, and that's I pray to God Sergey Pavlovich beats the ever living shit out of Waldo's Cortez Acosta, and maybe we get lucky he beats him bad enough to where Acosta goes, I really don't want to be part of this stuff anymore. I need to go ahead and lay the gloves down. That would be the best possible outcome. In fact, beat him for fucking 3 rounds to where you get close to where they're going to stop the fight and then just let off the gas. They get real close to stopping the fight, let off the gas. And then in the third round, beat the ever living shit out of him until it takes 4 guys to pull you off of him. If that doesn't tell you how I feel about Acosta and him being in the rankings at heavyweight, that tells you something. And I am, of course, always going to say I'm interested in Brian Ortega, but that's just because, well, I've liked Brian Ortega since the day he came in. However, we found once he gets to the top of the pile, he's kind of folding like a cheap lawn chair. And I'm wondering if him fighting Aljamain, with Aljamain being in his new weight class, if it's something where he can fend off a former champ and maybe prove maybe he is still worth the UFC that's paying him. Don't get me wrong, great jiu-jitsu practitioner, great boxer, but he just can't seem to put it together when the bright lights are shining the brightest. So we'll see. But that's the only reason I'm interested in that fight at all. Has nothing to do with Aljamain Sterling because fuck Aljo.
Fuck that
I
dude.
don't care if he
Fuck
is
that dude.
friends with one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. Fuck Aljo.
Fuck Aljo. No, I absolutely agree. And I will say this is one of those situations that I've been bitching about a lot lately, and I can't bitch about on this particular card. When the UFC goes on the road, they generally do a fairly decent job of taking local talent or people with ties to the local area where the fight is happening and putting them on this card. This one is literally the epitome of that. Not only is like half of this UFC card people from the Shanghai area, but there's also in just a few hours from now, literally the road to the UFC, which is actually because they're on the other side of the world and it's normal time for them, but they've got fights, tonight, I say with air quotes because we're in the USA, and then more fights with representation in the UFC Saturday night. So the UFC is doing very good by China right now. They're definitely catering to the Chinese market for damn sure very well. That being said, I'm not so certain that a lot of them are going to fare very well once this all said and done. We'll see how that plays out. I'm going to be very honest, folks. I'm a morbid motherfucker. I'm a petty son of a bitch. I've got a cruel black fucking heart, and I don't make any bones about it. There's a lot of fights on here that I am interested in because I want to see a dude get the shit beat out of him. There's quite a few of them. Right out the fucking gate, Weston Wilson. I get that he's Wonder Boy's buddy. He's been a training partner. He's from that gym. They're all fucking friends, and that's all cool. He's not a UFC caliber fucking dude, and he never has been. This gentleman, Zinya, I have a feeling is probably going to highlight reel his ass. Following right after that, Michelle Pereira. We all watched and cheered with black-hearted fucking pride as Fluffy beat the dog shit out of Pereira last time out. But Kyle Dawkins is not Fluffy. Honestly, I'm genuinely kind of surprised that Kyle Dawkins is still here. I thought at one point, one of those roster watches that gives us the names of, a dozen fighters the UFC decided, quote unquote, not to re-sign. I thought that Kyle Dawkins' name was in one of those giant releases. I'm not going to lie. The fact that he's still in the UFC genuinely kind of surprises me. The fact that they're throwing him as a sacrificial lamb for Michelle Pereira to get his groove back is not surprising at this point in time, but I feel that's probably exactly how that's going to happen. And that's the only real reason I'm kind of interested to see this, because I'm curious if Fluffy really put an ass whooping on Pereira enough to get him to permanently stop doing all the flashy, jumpy, showy capoeira dumb shit that he's known for doing in the cage, or if Kyle Dawkins is such a fucking can riding his brother's coattails so hard that Michelle Pereira is going to be doing backflips in the fucking cage, and we're going to see that old school stupid shit all again. We'll find out. I have a feeling it's going to be the latter, but stranger things have happened. I've been wrong before. Following immediately up after that, Austin Hubbard against Rongju. Rongju's not the greatest fighter in the world. I would call him a mid-level journeyman, but he's at home. They're in China fighting for Chinese pride on this card, and Austin Hubbard's not exactly a fucking world breaker himself. It kind of feels like Austin's getting sacrificial lambed up here for Rongju to try and get a little momentum going at home. And I kind of feel like that's how that one's going to go. But I'm going to watch because I'm curious. Stranger things have happened. Obviously, Loner Kavanaugh versus Charles Johnson is a little bit conflicting for me because, like Slowbake likes to do, I generally try and cheer for the Missouri guys whenever I get the opportunity. But Charles Johnson is one of those exceptions to the rule in this particular situation. I generally try and cheer for Missouri guys, but Charles Johnson has just shown both in the cage, on the microphone, and in the barber chair that he's not capable of making good decisions. I can't root for him, man. I just fucking can't. That stupid bump on the back of your head. I can't. You're a grown ass man. You fight for a living. You make more than enough money to get a professional stylist. Fix that shit. Loner Kavanaugh's going to fuck him up and keep that 0 going on his fucking undefeated record, I think. But I'm going to watch because stranger things have happened. Again, Gage Young is from Sedalia. I try and root for the Missouri boys. Mahashate is not a world breaker, but he's a proud Chinese fighter. At home, Gage Young is not the most seasoned fighter yet. He's still fairly new into his career. This could be a sacrificial maneuver here, trying to get Mahashate a little bit of the groove that he came into the UFC with back. But stranger things have happened, so I'm going to fucking watch. Kevin Borjas. Same fucking situation here. Sumerdaji is not a world breaker, but neither is Kevin Borjas. Sumerdaji, again, fighting at home for Chinese pride with all of the other Chinese fighters on this fucking card. Borjas might become a sacrificial lamb, but stranger things have happened, so I'm gonna fucking watch. I don't like Sergey Pavlovich. I make no bones about it. I give 0 shits about how his career goes. He could be fighting for the belt next year. He could be fighting in BKFC next year, and I could give 0 fucks either direction. But I don't fucking like Waldo Costa Cortez. I don't like Salsa Boy. I didn't like Salsa Boy when he came in. I don't like the way that they've matched him so far. I don't like the way half of his fucking fights get stopped too goddamn early, and Ray Charles can see that it's too fucking early. So I'll be waving my little fucking Russian flag for 15 minutes Saturday morning, hoping against fucking hope that Sergey Pavlovich could pull his head out of his ass and do what all of us so desperately want him to fucking do and just live up to his fucking potential for once in his goddamn life. But stranger things have happened, so I'm going to watch. And then we've got that fucking co-main. I'm so conflicted on this fucking fight. On one hand, I like that it's a 5-round co-main event. I am an old school believer that mains and co-mains on every fucking card should be 5 rounds because they should fucking mean something. They should be the biggest fights on the card, and they should both get 5 rounds to show that. Whether you suck for 5 rounds and we learn that you suck, or you kick ass and take fucking names and we learn that the co-main should probably be a main next time out, I think they should both be 5-round fucking fights. I get that it's, a rare opinion, but that's where I fall on this one. I like that this is a 5-round fight. What I don't like is that this is a 5-round fight at 145 pounds that Brian Ortega said 3 fucking fights ago he was done with. He said that he was bulking up and building his frame to go to 55 and stay there, and then the UFC books him for 3 fucking consecutive featherweight fights after that. Dana White when Brian Ortega first said that he was done with 45, said, like he always says, if you think you're done with that weight class, you should probably be done with that weight class, because if you're thinking about it, you're probably already having enough problems that you should be in the next weight class up. And then booked him 3 more fucking fights in that weight class. Now they're trying to use him as a sacrificial lamb here for Aljo, who's trying to prove that he can be relevant at 45, that we still haven't seen that he fucking can be. Aljo got washed out of 35 after his bullshit finally quit working and his friend finally got a second to fucking shine. So he thinks that he's just going to be able to jump to 45 and bring his happy, shiny bullshit up here and talk about former champion this, former champion that. All respect. Fuck you, Aljo. Go fuck yourself. He has no respect for Brian Ortega. He's been bitching all week anytime anyone put a microphone in front of him that he's not making enough money for this to be a 5-round fight for as relevant as it is. You're calling your own co-main event irrelevant, saying you're not getting enough money for it. Go fuck yourself, Aljo. I hope T-City has not bulked his frame up so much that he still comes in looking like the T-City of old. I would love nothing more in my black little fucking heart than to see Aljamain Sterling get triangled in the middle of the cage in the first goddamn round, and we see one of these walking around the fucking octagon. I will squeal like a 13-year-old girl at a fucking One Direction concert. I'm telling you right fucking now. The main event, though, is almost certainly a sacrificial lamb situation here. Despite the Krispy Kreme level glazing that the UFC social media has been doing for Johnny Walker for the past 3 days, we have seen with our own functional fucking eyeballs that a strong breeze can and will knock Johnny Walker in a cartoonish fucking fashion against the side of a goddamn cage. It doesn't matter where in the world they are, what time they're fighting, or who the fuck is standing across from him. Any good shot at this point sends him into a Mike Tyson's Punch-Out style fucking walk-down routine. And it's no two ways about it. I don't care where he moved. I don't care what gym he moved to. You can't rebuild your chin. And that's always been Johnny Walker's problem. Guess what Ming Ying Zhang's fucking strong suit is? Giant hands and giant fucking elbows. Ask Anthony Smith's fucking hairline about it. Because goddamn did he paint a canvas with Anthony Smith's blood from his fucking scalp. I don't think we're in for much different here. I will give Johnny Walker credit. He has calmed down from his Michelle Pereira-esque bullshit shenanigans that he used to do in every fucking fight when he first came around. He's a little bit more reasonable now. He's a dad. He's somewhat calmed himself down, but he's still got no fucking chin. And they're sending him to China to fight a giant Chinese man who's a knockout specialist and has 14 first-round knockouts on his fucking resume. I don't need to be Miss Cleo to tell you how I think this one's gonna go. But I'm gonna watch.
Just as an FYI, for those of you who are in our younger audience, Miss Cleo used to be a psychic that you would call for your future.
Psychic with air quotes.
Yes, there's air quotes there for those of you who are just listening. I want to make that very clear because I know that may have flown over quite a few people's heads. That's also dating ourselves in the age category here.
That's right.
Back when there was 800 numbers on TV to call.
Right.
Call Miss Cleo. She show you the
call me
way.
now.
Call me now.
Call me
That's
now.
right. That's right. Call me now. Oh. But that being said, that'll bring us to the part of the show that does require its own individual disclaimer. So, if you will. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does allow you to go onto their site, create a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups on there. So we made one. We call it I'm No Bookie, all one word, or Group 965. However you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Make yourself an account, join the group, and then let us know who you are, and we will hold your picks accountable with our picks in a little segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
All right, you heard the man, you freeloading bastards. Come over and join us. It's no longer a request, this is mandatory. Come join us. It's a good time. If you don't want to tell us who you are, don't. But you can at least see where you stack up. I'm just saying, it's fucking free. We know you like free things, otherwise you wouldn't be here. I mean, that is, unless you're a member of the Patreon, which is scrolling across the screen below. Yeah, there's a link for that as well. So if you want to support us, you can do it that way. Now, let's get right into this. I want to point something out very clearly on this week's fucking recap of last week of the Duplessis Chimaev fucking main event. For one, if you did not get the chance to watch that pay-per-view, I would highly suggest you go back because there were some great fucking moments. Not to mention, we got back to back spinning elbow finishes. It's very rare to see one of those, let alone have lightning strike twice and know that there could have been some fuckery where it could have struck a third time possibly. Thank God it didn't, but man, that was a fucking wild. It was wild. Now, with all of that being said, with how wild that card was, the difference between first place and last place in our group, for those of us who we track, was 0 picks. Everybody in our group knocked down 7 of 12, all just above the 500 mark. There was some strange fuckery going on with some of the other fights on there where things didn't go the way we thought they were going to go, obviously based on the picks, but it was still a fun night of fights. I don't think there wasn't really any super terrible fights. I mean, we all knew what was going to happen in the main event. Hamzat was going to ragdoll Duplessis, and that's just how it was going to fucking go. And look, I'm going to join the ranks of Mighty Mouse here. For those of you who don't want to watch wrestling or good grappling or jujitsu, don't watch MMA. That is a part of this fucking sport. For those of you who all say it's just all wrestle fucking and boring, it can be sometimes because there are some guys who make it look very boring. Chimaev does not make that shit look boring. He was working the whole fucking time and fucking goddamn stand-ups that they force. I'll be the first to say, fucking bullshit. Because he was actively working. He was either swinging, they may not have been hard, but he was fucking moving. There's a reason why when you look at his total punch count landed, it was like 500 and something, which is fucking crazy. None of them were super hard, but it was there. Either way. But back to where we were at here. Taking over the top spot with his 7 picks, correct? Christian got the top spot this week. Congratulations. Now there was a fight at the bottom of the pool for whose 7 picks were going to take the bottom spot. And lo and behold, it all comes from the same household. Vinny, 7 picks correct. Christian, 7 picks correct. First and last place. I'm just going to go ahead and say there may have been a little bit of cheating and somebody may have fudged a number somewhere just to make it look like they were different, but they were still the same. They might not be here to defend themselves, but you know, I've called it before, I'll call it again. Either way, Christian gets the trip over your dick or gets the pat on the back. Vinny gets the trip over your dick award. I can't give anybody shit this week because everybody scored the exact fucking same amount of correct picks. Period. So it's not something I can really say you stomped on your dick.
I can, because I was there and heard with my own little ears. Vinny willingly picked Duplessis to win the main event.
So he could have, in theory, won
He
this.
could have won. He could have
So-
absolutely won. He could have been the only one of us with 8 of 12. But he chose to stand on his dick with pride.
Fair enough. I wasn't there for that. I can only go based off the numbers. So either way, everybody was, in my eyes, I know the numbers don't lie, so we know who's in first. But across the board, as far as picks are concerned, everybody was equal. We just didn't all call them at the same times or same ways of finishes. Like I picked a lot more finishes than I got correct, which unfortunately that is what it is. But I will say that one where I did get it right on the head, I was very happy about. But yeah, if you haven't seen that card, go back, watch it. Completely worth your fucking time. Now, no, if you want to get into this week's the upcoming Grand Prix, you're gonna have to wait for the next go round unless you can get in the next 24 hours. And
I was
I
gonna
say
say, there's
24 hours very literally.
I was saying that's literally only 24 hours for folks who are watching this live. If you're listening to the broadcast after the fact, it is already too late, but we warned you that this was coming, so you should have been in already, fuckers.
Yep. So those of you who are here live with us, if you're not in here, go ahead and jump on in. Let us know who you are. We'll get you an invite over to the Grand Prix for this as well. Now, on to the important things here, which is that MGM is still doing fucking odds again. This is great. I'm loving it. So we're gonna stick with them. Now, for the most part, like a lot of cards that we see when they're hangover cards, there are a lot of coin flips. But there are some few diamonds in the rough here as far as odds are concerned. So I'm going to cover those. And there's one just absolutely batshit crazy odd in here that we'll cover as well. We're going to start with the slightly wide odd here. And that's going to be in Sergey Pavlovich and Waldo Cortez Acosta. Pavlovich coming in as a minus 250 favorite over a plus 200 in Cortez Acosta, which, to be honest, I think that gap should be a little wider. Don't get me wrong, we know Sergey's been fucking knocked out, but he's knocked out by the current champion. So, I mean, take that with a grain of salt. Nobody else has laid hands on him very well at all. Like him or hate him, the dude's a fucking animal in the cage. Another one that gets slightly wide odds here. And I'm saying not wide, but there's some odds that are just more than a coin flip. Ronju and Austin Hubbard. Ronju coming in as a minus 250 favorite. Austin Hubbard at plus 200. So the odds are right on there. Said Austin Hubbard, not great. Another one that I don't want to mention, but I have to because it's just where the odds are. That's Kyle Dawkins and Michelle Pajeda. Kyle Dawkins coming in as a plus 230 underdog. Pajeda a minus 285 favorite. Where the odds start to get a little wider here is going to be in the Kiefer Crosby and oh my god, I can't say that fucking name. Niraji, that's what we're gonna go with. We're just gonna try the last name and say Niraji because that's kind of what it looks like. Niraji coming in as a minus 450 favorite. Crosby a plus 340 underdog. Slightly wider odds, not crazy like we've seen, but wait, there's fucking more. The widest odds on the card, to no one's surprise. Yisha and Weston Wilson. Yisha coming in as a minus 1200 favorite over a plus 750 underdog in Weston Wilson. Look, we all love Wonder Boy. Just because you train with him doesn't mean you're good, though. And the odds will point that out every fucking time. Look, I like Wonder Boy enough to say, I hope Weston Wilson doesn't get killed. And I hope Wonder Boy has taught him a little bit more than what we saw in his first run out, because it was fucking terrible. But the odds are that way for a fucking reason. I mean, what a way to throw some layups for your guys from fucking China, though, man. I'm just saying. The fucking alley-oop on that is ridiculous. If you fucking bounce off the rim, you fucked something up there. Now, that being said, that is the widest odd on the card here, so we will hop right over into the co-main and main. Brian Ortega, Aljamain Sterling. Brian Ortega, to nobody's surprise right now, coming in as a plus 240 underdog because the bright lights, like I said earlier, they seem to affect him. Aljamain Sterling, a minus 300 favorite, which unfortunately I don't like because, well, I just don't like fucking Aljo. But it's not surprising that they have Ortega as an underdog here. Now, as a lot of us were stating earlier, with the exception of one person who I saw in the polls over on our YouTube page, our main event, we're going to cover this: Johnny Walker and Zhang Mingyang. Mingyang coming in as a minus 350 favorite over Johnny Walker in a plus 275. Which one of you assholes did it? Which one of you assholes over there on the votes on the YouTube page decided to pick Johnny Walker? I hope you step on your dick. You trip over your beef curtains. Whatever the fuck it was that caused you to think that that was a good idea. It's a terrible fucking idea. Fuck Johnny Walker. Another one of those guys. There's a reason why I didn't mention that in a fight I'm interested in. Because I just don't like Johnny Walker that fucking much. Period. Either way, those are your odds right now. Again, that was all through BetMGM. Depending on where you see your odds, they may vary. If you're a betting man, I'm not telling you to bet responsibly. If you do decide to bet irresponsibly and win irresponsibly, by all means, maybe slip us a little something via Patreon. If you're not wanting to do it via Patreon because you want to make sure we all get paid directly, just reach out to us directly. I'll send you my PayPal info. I'm not that way. That's all I got this week. We'll have something in 2 weeks from now because I'm taking next week off. I don't care what the meter says. I don't get paid enough for this shit. I'm taking next week off.
You know what? Now I insist you take next week off.
God damn it. I don't want to be here.
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. Yeah, for those of you who have been paying attention, if you are catching this live or even if you are catching this on the replay on Friday, you basically have until midnight-ish Friday night to join the I'm No Joe Fall Grand Prix. It is official. We are kicking the goddamn thing off. We start with this Shanghai card and we are ending in Abu Dhabi in a couple of weeks. It is fun, it is a good time, and it is free. The link will be down in the description. Whether you're watching this or listening to it, you got time. If you're listening to it, I apologize. We warned you guys last week that it was coming. You should already have your checks in if you're ready to go. That being said, though, that is all we have got for this particular episode. So if you like the kind of shenanigans we get up to around here, the kind of shit that we talk, like, subscribe, make sure your notifications are turned on because we do this show pretty much every Thursday that there are fights to talk about live here on youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe and dual streamed live over on twitch.tv/I'mNoJoe as well. Replays stay up there if you would like to see that. If you wouldn't, I understand because I also own a mirror. And for that reason, the week after we go live, I put the all audio version up over on anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. You can get it there at your podcast consumption platform of choice, Google, Apple, Spotify, you name it. Wherever it goes, you can get it. All free, of course. But if you really like what we get up to around here, the best way to help us do what we do is patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, as much as you are comfortable giving, you help us do what we do around here. And in exchange for the help that you are giving us, first and foremost, we put your name at the end of every broadcast on this channel to let everyone know how fucking awesome you are and how much better you are than them. But also in exchange for that, we also give you access to the unaired and unairable content, all the stuff that got us kicked off of OnlyFans as a podcast. Yeah, that happened. The patrons get access to all of that shit now because they're awesome and we want you to see why we're awesome. So we do appreciate that as well. So that being said, when we wrap things up around here Thursday, that is not the end of all the fuckery because even though the kid's not here, I'm pretty sure tomorrow him and his other half are going to drop their podcast. Slow Bake and Contemplate over there on Spreaker.com. Catch the links for all of their shit down there in the description, whether you're watching and listening as well. And then once that rolls back around, we get back to Wednesday, where depending on the week, you might find us over on Golf T Vape's YouTube channel doing a little thing we call the Foggy Fairway on Wednesday nights, about 8:30, 9 o'clock ish. We mix bathtub e-liquid. We talk about advocacy. Sometimes we just sit around and talk shit for an hour, but it's a good time and it's also free. So you should definitely check that out. Links to all that is down in the description as well.
Thank you, sir. Now, just as an FYI, I have been in and out all summer long, so there may be a show, there may be not. I'm not gonna nail myself down to anything because, well, I'm enjoying the dog days of summer as it were right now. By that I mean I'm playing a lot of golf. That's why I didn't have a show last night. I was playing, and I'll tell you what, it may or may not have been worth it because I feel like a fucking old man today. Anyhow, in the meantime, if I'm not having a show, or just sometime between now and 2 Thursdays from now, you're gonna have a lot of time to burn. If you go down below, linktree/I'm or slash meter does many things, that will take you to each and every one of the many things that the meter does do and fill all of those time gaps that you need filled. By all means, go subscribe, watch away, tell your friends, share it with your family members, and share it with people you fucking hate. Because, maybe it'll piss them off and it'll be totally worth it.
Much appreciated, sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, there is always Devil's Lettuce content coming out over on the main channel. There is always fight content coming out over on this channel. If you don't get a chance to catch all of the fights over the course of a weekend, the ones that we talk about here on the podcast, fret not, because if you look at the YouTube channel here, youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe, there's a little tab over there because they tabbed everything now. One of those tabs says shorts. If there is a fight finish and it's worth talking about, you will see a little video from me with at least the fight going on, and I'll give you a breakdown on what's going on, depending on how litigious and copyright assholey the fight promotion is. I might even be able to show you a little bit of the video, but we will always make sure you've got all your fight coverage needs taken care of here at the I'm No Joe podcast. With that being said, that is all we've got for this episode. So until next time, boys and girls, remember, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.